Junior, how's the spring been so far for you and the group?
It's been good. It's good having Chaz and obviously Thomas back and being now senior leaders in that room. It's good with the addition of Cedric Wilson. He's had a good 7 or 8 days of practice. Then you got the AJ Richardson, who played for us last year and played some snaps. So you can see those reps paying off. Killian Butler had a decent practice today for us. They're a good, fun group, and they not only do we as a staff do we challenge them, but they challenge us. They challenge me as well each day. So it's been pretty fun.
How would you kind of looking back at last season, assess your group and what do you want to see some improvement from this year?
Just consistent. Be consistent. Consistent at just the details that we harp every day and exploding off the football. Make the difficult catches look easy, and when we do get the ball in hands, we gotta be better at running after the catch. I think that's one thing we want to put an emphasis on this spring.
And I know that when new coaching staff takes over, some of the numbers might not be where you necessarily want them to, and with the wide receiver position, you guys have had to be maybe a little patient. But it seems like maybe some of that young talent that you've brought in over the last year or two since you've been here might be ready to really contribute now.
Yeah, obviously you have your guys that play a lot, but then we played. There was times last week we played 7 or 8 guys, I think it was. Those reps are starting to pay off. We built some depth, but especially with those guys that did play early and young, we need them to become more consistent and come out to practice every day and do what we're asking them to do.
With Cedric Wilson, we're going to talk to him in a few minutes here. I know you guys were high on him when you signed him, but has he even maybe exceeded the expectations so far?
Still high on him. We're still high on Cedric. He's done everything we asked. I think the cool thing about Cedric is he's a really good person. He's a really good kid, and from day one of him being here on campus, he's done everything we asked of him and more. We don't have to ask him to come in and watch film. There's times he's in the building for 2 hours, studying the playbook, studying film, studying the position, and so far he's had a good camp.
So what does he kind of bring to the table? What kind of receiver is he?
He's tall. Honestly, he's about 6'2", 6'3". He's long, and he can run. He can run. He has really good hands and good ball. And ball skills. Ced is, he's growing. He's a little raw right now at the, route running and some of the things we ask to do in this offense. But he's showed up every day to practice. He hasn't batted an eye. He comes out there and competes. He does the extra work, post practice. And again, like I said, he's always in his meeting room in here and studying film.
Looks like there's about 4 or 5 guys that played small amounts last year. Butler and Richardson. I haven't heard the name Cottrell mentioned this year, but what do they need to do to be able to move into that first group that plays a lot?
Be consistent. And when their number's called, because they probably don't get as many opportunities as everybody else when there's numbers called, make plays. And who has made some plays the last few days is Dawson Cottrell. He's made some really nice catches. Killian Butler's made a nice grab today. Sean Monster's playing solid football for us. So just getting those guys to be consistent. And I think as a group, from top to bottom, from Thomas and Chaz on down to, Sean Monster, for example, everyone needs to be consistent. And the cool thing about that room is they all compete against each other, and they have fun at doing it.
Was there maybe last year a little bit, I don't want to say miscommunication, but an issue when those second team guys would come in, because Rippon talked about a big focus this year for the quarterbacks too, is making sure that whoever comes in, everyone's on the same page. Was there, I don't see an issue with that, but was that need to be improved?
No, we always look to improve that. We always talk about communication. I don't think you can over communicate on the football field, and that's probably what Brett's talking about, is communicating, understand what everyone's where everyone's at, what personnel grouping we're in, or what formation we're in, or what the concept is. Just this constant communication.
How much can maybe that wide receiver QB dynamic benefit from the fact that there really isn't I guess there's a QB competition this year, but both guys have played in big games, and Does it help, I don't know, maybe foster that relationship and help maybe even like the younger receivers come along and whatnot?
I just think, like I said, everyone's competing. I mean, there's always a competition. Those two guys, Ryan Finley and Brett, obviously they both have real good live game experiences in big games, and obviously that helps the young guys like Killian Butler, he's played for us, but he hasn't played a lot, or the Brian Jeffersons and Austin Cottrells and those guys. They can help obviously with their experience, getting those guys lined up, certain ball placements, and route adjustments.
We saw some of those guys. I mean, I know in the Utah State game there was a couple fourth down catches that AJ had, and then I think the UNLV game, Monster had a couple third down catches. I mean, they've shown when you called on them, they can make plays. I mean, do you feel like collectively that group is ready to step up and contribute?
Yeah, I think they are, and that's one thing we talked about in that room is, stepping up, and everybody stepping up and contributing. And contributing again, I'm gonna say the word consistently, day to day, every day in practice, and obviously it'll carry over in the game.
Sorry, I mean, we haven't talked about the two guys that are obviously the main two guys for you, but what have you seen from them just kind of staying steady and trying to go to the next step in I guess, Chaz first and then in Thomas?
When you talk about Chaz, Chaz, when he plays fast, he's a pretty good wide receiver. And that is the thing with him. That is what I'm harping on him every single day. Is Chaz, play fast, explode off the football, explode off the football, explode off the football, make it all look the same. If we can do that on a consistent basis, Chaz should play some good football for us. Thomas is he's playing good, steady football, being consistent, and continue making the catch. He's making difficult catches right now. I want to say he made one today in practice. With Thomas, what I want to see more of is when he does catch the ball, I want to see him be a little more dynamic with the football in his hands. And I thought there were some situations last year where he had the ball in his hands in the open field, and he could have probably scored. And he has good enough speed to do it.
With Chaz, I mean, I guess one way, what you said about him exploding off the ball every time, it might suggest that there were times that he wasn't. And I guess that I know it's kind of an obvious, maybe an obvious answer, but how can he benefit from doing that more often? What was the drawback of certain scenarios when he won it? I guess.
For example, when he in practice, I want to say a few days ago, he came off the ball. He didn't come off the ball. He came off kind of gliding and then tried to burst. And when he did that, he dropped it. And when he plays fast and he's decisive and he's not thinking, he plays good football.
Last year, at times, you guys did have some issues with drops. I know there was a storyline in the middle of the season at some point. Have you done anything different in the offseason or this spring, extra jugs machine or anything to work on that, or was it just kind of a couple-week storyline that's gone?
It's like we had the flu or something, right? Stay away from us. No, we when it comes to pass catching, we obviously drill it. We drill it pre-practice, we drill it post-practice, we drill it during practice. And, one thing we've been trying to harp on these guys when they are catching is catching it with their hands, but catch it with your eyes. So see the ball, catch it, and look it to the tuck. It's just coaching up the little detail of it and just harping it on a consistent basis. There's been so many times I've seen guys catch it and turn away before they put it to the tuck. Well, that in a game situation, that can lead to a drop.
Do you guys use tennis balls, or do you do anything like that?
We do. We have all that deal. We have a tennis ball machine. We have a jugs ball machine in the weight room, both of them. And those guys, they spent the off season catching a lot of balls. They have. So, not only just catching it, but I think just making the difficult ones look easy. Playing great for a quarterback.
You mentioned on signing day, just kind of being able to maybe have different options. You can try out different looks and stuff like that. And I know obviously some of the guys are going to be getting in this summer, but do you feel like you're maybe starting to get a little bit more of that with the with these guys getting some more experience? It's kind of being able to tinker and have different looks that you can try out there.
Yeah, I think the obvious is everyone Thomas Spurbeck, right? Thomas Spurbeck, but we got other guys besides Thomas and that can do a number of things for us. And I think that's the cool thing about this group, and the cool thing about this offense is there's a variety.
When you mentioned about coming off the line with the timing, if somebody's at quarterback